G'day, Michael here. This video is just a tiny one to talk about a pickle I found myself in recently. What I wanted to do, just get this microphone a little closer. What I wanted to do is simply open some file records of before 2001 in my business. Let me just have a quick squiz. Where are we? Should be business, archive, and I've got old records from way back done in CorelDRAW files. Now the CorelDRAW files load partially in something like Inkscape or even GIMP, but the reality is we don't see much of the content. Now let's just have a quick look at that. Anytime, there we go. So it shows everything in the way of graphics, but it doesn't show any text. There's, how do we do this thing again? Okay, plus. Okay, so all you can see is lines, and you can't see any of the textual details. Now this was done originally in CorelDRAW, I think 6. So I was caught in a pickle trying to dig through old records to see work that I'd done in the past, and I've done quite a bit before 2001 when I switched over to open source software. Basically, since I've switched to open source, this has not been a problem. But before that time, I was using proprietary software because I was using a Windows-based, well, the whole Windows ecosystem basically. And back then, what was available in open source was very restrictive compared to what it is now. But we just had Inkscape open a second ago, but it loads and saves in SVG, which is a very portable and usable file. If you use something like LibreCAD or QCAD, you load and save in DXF, which virtually any CAD program can open. Even LibreOffice can open a DXF file. So those sorts of files are very, very useful, but other programs use their proprietary file, like CorelDRAW in this case, CDR files. So I was really, tried all the open source software to see what to do with the CDR files, but it looks like the fonts used in those files created a problem. Perhaps the way they were packed or not packed in the file is what's going on, don't know. But in any case, quite useless. So anyhow, I set about installing, I scratched around and found my, where am I? My old CorelDRAW disk, and I installed it under Wine. So anytime now we should see CorelDRAW 8, which is a Windows 98, I think, maybe Windows XP package. In any case, I'll open a graphic. The trouble is, what am I doing? The trouble is that this is running under Wine, and although the software works okay and whatnot, but the problem I have is that I require this proprietary software to be running under Wine, and if I want to run it under Windows, I've got to maintain a Windows license. Well, I've probably bought something like 50 Microsoft licenses over my time, whether it be directly or as part of a machine, or even part of second-hand machines. In any case, I bought a lot of licenses, got a lot of license keys floating around, stickers on boxes, cards in a shelf, CD-ROMs floating around, whatnot. But to maintain an older Windows system, we can't protect it from the internet, and to use Windows 10, which I do have also installed, I just don't want to maintain a Windows system because I basically don't use it, and every time you turn around, they go and change some of the background things. Now for someone that's new to computers, I'd say less than 10 years in the industry, they may not really quite appreciate how much you throw away old stuff because the software changes of proprietary systems. But open source systems let you keep hardware till basically end of life, or until the task is actually so difficult that the machines can't perform them. And the machine I'm in front of, just to see whether I can get some information about the actual machine's age. Proc, maybe, I don't know, CPU info. They don't have a date on it. Anyhow, it's a no date there. No, I can't see a date. But you can see it's a 2.67 gigahertz machine. It's a 6-core hexa-core machine. So I run a system monitor. Oh, here it is here anyway. Move it on the screen. Okay, you can see, I've got 6 cores. I haven't bothered turning on hyper-threading. In fact, put that the other way around. I've turned off hyper-threading on this machine because most of the programs work more efficiently having a real core. It's only programs that sit around waiting for the system to do stuff, like say Excel, that benefit from hyper-threading. Otherwise, if the software is efficient at using cores that it's on, you end up with very much. There's less of an overhead to use the cores directly. So different software, whatever you're optimized to on your computer, you may choose hyper-threading or not, depending on what you're doing. In any case, it's a 6-core machine. Those speeds show low. What is the actual performance? That's showing that speed. If I give it something to do, maybe it'll speed up those cores. But they top out quite a bit quicker than that, well over 3 gigahertz. In any case, so I've got 48 gigabytes of RAM. So this machine's very capable, even though it's already an old machine. And with Linux, I'll be able to keep that going for a long time yet. Even low-spec machines, I keep going for a long time. I don't like systems that, software systems that mean that I have to throw away hardware. I have an old Epson printer, which in essence the technology hasn't changed since I bought it. Probably around 2000, something like that. It's Epson photo printer that can also print onto continuous rolls. With the proprietary software that came with it from Epson, it could not print edge to edge, so if you wanted to print a photo, you'd always have a white border around the outside of the photo. Now with open source software, I can print edge to edge. And interestingly enough, you can buy through eBay suppliers a continuous ink supply. And so I've got the ability to basically print long runs of print, much longer than the cartridges could ever do. So in effect, my old printer is better than anything you could buy new for $5,000. Not as fast, but certainly more capacity. So open source gives you your hardware back, and in many ways can even leave you with a better piece of hardware than what you started with. Of course, Microsoft doesn't support it, Apple doesn't support it, and Epson has abandoned it. So it's a lost cause. There's no way I can actually make it run on newer machines and get the performance out of it that I can on open source software. So here I am, I'm stuck with open source, and I'm very happy to do that. People talk about the Apple ecosystem and talk about the Microsoft ecosystem, but I have got to say the open source, that Linux GNU ecosystem is actually in so many ways better for small business and better for personal use than any proprietary systems, because with a proprietary system there's this life cycle business of support, and then you need to upgrade. It always means you've got to go for your credit card or whatever and download the latest whatever. Open source continues to develop and improve, and if someone comes up with a better idea, there's a side shift and a fork to a better way, and so forth. So things just keep developing in the open source software world that on proprietary systems get abandoned, and so you lose it. Whereas open source always tends to give you more and more capacity rather than take it away from you, and also backwards compatibility is a much higher thing with open source software. Well, so that's why I've used Wine. I've got also TurboCAD and other programs. I've got files created with TurboCAD and other things, and any of these older business records. Some of these are like documents, quotes, and invoices, and letters written to so-and-so, and for a number of different customers. So I don't want to go too much in detail because I don't want to give away any private details of my customers. But yeah, the files, being locked out of your own files by proprietary systems is very painful. The other thing that happens, of course, with those proprietary systems, let's say, I don't know, Corel was to go broke and I wanted to maintain the software chain, or they abandon the software and do something bigger and better somewhere else, I'm held to ransom by the fact that they've abandoned my files. I had an interesting situation when I was working with a company. They had Office 97, they upgraded to Office 2000, and about 5% of their Word documents wouldn't open. Also around their ordering system, which required Access Database, it also didn't work. So even staying within the proprietary systems, such as Microsoft, and upgrading doesn't necessarily guarantee backwards compatibility with your earlier files. Somewhere down the track, 6 or 9 months down the track, they ended up getting hold of patches which allowed them to go backwards to their early files. But yeah, that was a bit of a nightmare, because it took a couple of months to realise that it wasn't opening all the files. Meanwhile, everyone had shifted to 2000 and couldn't open the 97 files. So it's a pain with proprietary software. Open source software seems to offer business a better backwards compatibility. Yeah. Well, I guess that's it for this video. I could waffle on forever about these frustrations, but I guess that's it. Well, feel free to like, share, subscribe, ask a question, leave a comment. Bye for now.